What's going on, everybody? C4, welcome back to the channel. And today, in light of tonight's day 2 of the 2022 NFL Draft, which is the second and third rounds, we are going to do a day 2 mock draft. So whether you're very happy with your team's first round, say you're a Detroit Lion fan, you're a New York Jet fan, you're a New York Giant fan, you're a Philadelphia Eagle fan, those seem to be like the most hype fan bases. Haven't heard much from the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs should be pretty happy at this point. A couple upset fan bases. Seem like the Patriots are a little salty. The Vikings aren't super happy. The Cowboys aren't. Let's just see if we can have a great day 2 to either redeem a weekday 1 or continue to build off a strong day 1. So we're going to do a full day 2, second and third round mock draft. Buckle up. I'm not going to try to take too much time, but we got a lot of teams, a lot of picks to get through. But before we do get into this day 2 mock draft, we have to give a quick shout out to today's video sponsor. Everyone knows Raid's Shadow Legends by now, but did you know that it's Raid's 3rd anniversary? That's right, it's been 3 years since Raid burst onto the scene and completely took over mobile gaming, and since then, Raid's only gotten bigger and only gotten better. Use my QR code or links below to download Raid for yourself on your mobile phones or PC. It's Raid's 3rd anniversary. I wanted to rank my top 3 most wanted champions. Got some coins to spend, so we're gonna hit the summoning portal and try and get all 3. Third place, we have Taragi the Frog. Number 2 is Harvest Jack. Easily my number 1, Norog. We're gonna go to the portal and spend some of these coins. We're gonna go to the summoning portal, and we have enough here to make a big roll with our ancient shards and a whole lot of coin. It wasn't the best roll, but I'd have to say Mystic Hand looks pretty cool, and Tiger Soul looks like she's probably my strongest character. This month, Raid's celebrating its 3-year anniversary, and it's gonna be huge. They've got an insane amount of things in store. Raid's kicking things off with free gifts for everyone, then adding a bunch of new content and events. We're talking new champions, new artifacts, and a fully personalized video showcasing every player's Raid journey and their own personal achievements. If that's not enough, they get a month full of special events and tournaments with some of Raid's best ever prizes on offer, including badass champions, piles and piles of shards, and tons of other goodies. There's seriously never been a better time to get started, and if you use my link or scan the QR code right here, new players will get a free starter pack worth almost $40 to kickstart your game. We're talking free champions and XP boost, and since it's Raid's birthday, the gifts keep on coming. All new and existing players can get a bunch of free birthday gifts worth over $25. Once you're in game, just enter promo code 3YearsRaid to get your hands on everything. I'll see you in there. Without any further ado, let's get in to the second round. And first up on the clock at pick 33 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and here is where I'm going to have them go on the interior of the offensive line. They're going to get the most out of all the interior linemen that are available, the most pro-ready starter in my opinion, and that is Jamerry Salyer out of Georgia. Didn't give up a single sack in his college career. I think you immediately can plug him, play him at left guard. You don't have to worry. Obviously, you're going to have Shaq Mason on one side. Salyer, day 1 starter, has some versatility, can play guard, can play tackle. Seems like a very safe, contribute right away type pick there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think also, though, this could be a trade down pick. Any team that wants to be aggressive, get the certain quarterback that's still here at the top of the second round. If I'm the Bucs, I'm probably trading that pick. That pick is on the trip. But if you stay put, let's get a day 1 starter on the offensive line. 34, we have the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm going to have them go Andrew Booth, the corner out of Clemson. I thought they were going to draft him here at 32. They decided to go with Lewis Cine. They still get the much-needed secondary help that they do, and a guy that I think is still a legitimate first-round caliber corner from this year's draft class. Pick 35, we have the Tennessee Titans. This is where we'll just say, screw it. We're going to have them go Malik Willis. Someone is going to grab Malik Willis, and I think it would be 35-36. It's going to be teams that have, I'm not going to say established, because, I mean, when you look at Danny Dimes here in New York, it's not as established, but quarterbacks that are, like, into their contract, and you're just not sure. There's question marks surrounding the quarterback. And as much as it pays to say, Danny did not look particularly good last year, and I don't think it's too soon for the Tennessee Titans, especially with Malik Willis kind of falling into the lap. They're not trading up. They're not giving assets. He's just there. I think that that's a good landing spot. You're not going to have to rush him in because you have Tannehill, but you think big picture, you think long term, you're still going to have a little bit of prime Derrick Henry when it would be time to hand over the reins to Malik Willis. And Malik Willis and Derrick Henry in the same backfield is pretty goddamn terrifying. So actually, I would love to hear, if there's a Titan fan watching this, what do you feel about that Malik Willis selection? Pick 36, the Giants. I think they would have been on board for Malik Willis, but they're going to grab Nakobe Dean, as Eagle fans everywhere groan, even though I don't think Philly would, I would say, I don't think Philly would trade up to get Nakobe Dean. But if Nakobe Dean's at 51, might be too much value for how he rose from the pass up. But if I'm the Giants, they still need linebacker help, and Nakobe Dean is, fringe first-round type talent. Again, there's question marks about his speed. He's sub 6 feet tall, but he's still a very intelligent defender that can help the middle of that Giants defense to go along with an outstanding first. I hate to say it. I don't have no problem saying it because literally I was like on Reddit and on Twitter, and it seems like a lot of Eagle fans were saying Philly was one of the winners of the first round, and I agree, so it wasn't just me being biased. So I can also admit that the Giants have absolutely crushed it, and Nakobe Dean would just be continuing to pile on. Man, why couldn't Dave Gettleman still be there? That's all I'm saying. Pick 37, the Houston Texans are on the clock, and I'm going to have them grab Sky Moore, the wide receiver out of Western Michigan. I think they could use an upgrade over Anthony Miller in the slot. Sky Moore is one of the better slot wide receivers in this year's draft class. Adds some speed, adds a little dynamic playmaking ability to a wide receiver core that apparently Brandon Cooks is on the trade block. So if you do move on from Brandon Cooks, you have Sky Moore for the speed, and you can kind of build him and complement what they have in Nico Collins, and I think Nico Collins could be a good player for them down the line. 38, we have the Jets on the clock, and I'm going to have the Jets here. This is kind of going with the rumors. I don't know. If you're a Jets fan, you can comment more. I'm just coming from the outside looking in. Maybe Mekhi Becton's on the trade block. Maybe they're going to look at moving him. And if that is the case, you're going to need a tackle. If that is not the case, things were for Beckman, I would still probably rather Raymond than George Fant, all things considered. So this pick here is made with the idea that maybe there's something brewing with Mekhi Becton, and this is your little bit of an insurance policy. There's my reasoning. 39, the Chicago Bears are up. This is going to be my favorite pick of the second round so far. They're going to get George Pickens. I think George Pickens has wide receiver 1 upside. I had him as a first rounder. I thought, at the back end of the first round, I thought there was a chance Green Bay was going to take him. I thought there was a chance that maybe the Chiefs were going to take him, but he keeps falling. And he's going to fall to the Bears, where they are going to be absolutely ecstatic with the selection. They have one of the best wide receivers in the draft class. They didn't have a premier pick. George Pickens, Darnell Mooney, Justin Fields gets you a little bit excited. Now we have back-to-back Seattle, 40 and 41. First up at 40, we're going to help the interior of that defensive line, and we're going to get big old Travis Jones, who was surprisingly athletic, more athletic than he kind of showed on tape, tested very, very well. It was one of those things where if there wasn't the Jordan Davises of the world, Travis Jones would probably have a little bit more hype. You could almost throw in Devontae Wyatt. The Georgia guys just kind of smashed all comparisons, unfortunately, and kind of separate themselves from the rest of the pack. But Travis Jones is a guy that I think can contribute day one for the Seattle Seahawks on the defensive line. And then 41, I'm going to have Seattle here go into the secondary and get Kyler Gordon, the corner out of Washington, outside corner, sub 6 feet tall. But in today's NFL, with guys like Jair Alexander and J.C. Jackson, you don't have to have a 6 foot tall corner on the outside as long as they're athletic enough. And Kyler Gordon is plenty athletic enough. Those are two outstanding picks for Seattle. Two guys that I think can contribute right away as rookies. 42, we have the Indianapolis Colts on the clock, and I'm going to have them, even though North Dakota State, their quarterback situation last year, it's not the best. They got to go get some wide receiver out. They can go wide receiver tackle here, but I think the value really is Christian Watson right now at tackle. Either or, you can go Filet, try to pull a Philadelphia and get a Jordan Mailata if you want, even though Filet is like half the athlete that Mailata is. But, either one of those selections, kind of, you're gambling on the athlete, and you got to put it all together. But I think Watson with the height, weight, speed, 6'3", 210, can run block, so it fits that scheme. And 4-3, why not? Why not get Matt Ryan an absolute burner on the outside? 43, we have the Atlanta Falcons on the clock. I'm going to have them get a pass rusher here, and they're going to get Boy Mafe, the athletic pass rusher out of Minnesota. High ceiling, a little bit of a work in progress, but as the Falcons are transitioning to that 3-4, they need to get some pass rush help. I personally would think Ebiketie would be the guy, but it does seem like the NFL probably is going to value Mafe a little bit, even though I like Ebiketie more. So you're going to gamble on the athletic traits, the athletic upside, that he can make that conversion to be a 3-4 edge, which I think is a kind of a safe gamble at this point of Mafe's development. 44, we have the Cleveland Browns, and I'm going to have them go on the D-line and grab Perion Winfrey, the D-tackle from Oklahoma. Feel like you're going to get some immediate interior pass rush out for a defensive line that has some guys there, but there's really, it's a bunch of question marks. Who's going to take that next level? They had the young Ohio State kid, but I think adding Winfrey to the mix there on that rotation, and given the fact that the wide receivers, it's dropping off a little bit. Like now you're in that bubble where like they could probably wait. I know a lot of Brown fans want a wide receiver here. I think you can wait a little bit. You're still going to be able to address wide receiver, but the drop off in especially at the D-line spot, you really are kind of picking at, if you're not going Winfrey, you're probably looking at Mathis at this point. So this is your last chance to get that D tackle. When the next swing around, when the next pickups, maybe you look at wide receiver. 45, we have the Baltimore Ravens, and we're going to have them get on the defensive line Logan Hall, who's going to be more so a defensive end on that scheme. Got to get your successor to Calais Campbell. He's no spring chicken. You got to get his heir, his successor, and that could be Logan Hall. I don't know what they're feeding these guys, but between Logan Hall, you had Peyton Turner, you had Ed Oliver the year before that. There is some athletic monsters coming out of the University of Houston. Logan Hall, high ceiling, 285. Probably could go up to 290. Perfect scheme fit for Baltimore here, even though they're probably screening for a wide receiver. Again, much like the Browns, you can wait and get a little bit more value later on. 46, the Detroit Lions are on the clock, and I'm going to have them go linebacker and get Chad Muma, the linebacker from Wyoming. Again, much like the Aiden Hutchinson selection, seems like he's a Dan Campbell guy, very intelligent linebacker, good sideline to sideline. I think better than some people expect. I think he's a little bit slept on from that linebacker spot. Like, I watched Wyoming play Montana State, obviously different teams, but it was like Troy Anderson against Muma, and like Muma was just popped so much more in that game. And I feel like, yeah, with this jump of linebackers, is a good, group right here of guys that are going to be going day 2, day 3. But I think Muma has a little bit more of what Detroit would be looking for the guy that can eventually be, the shot caller on that defense from the middle there. 47, we have the football team and or the Commanders, whatever you want to call them, and they're going to go grab linebacker again. We know that Alabama pipeline to the Commanders is very strong, and they need another linebacker to put next to Jamin Davis. So they're going to go with Christian Harris, who's, again, much like Davis, very athletic, sideline-to-sideline ability, can drop back in the coverage, can blitz. Not the best getting off blocks, but if you can just send him as a free guy, very effective doing that. So Commanders there get their linebacker. Chicago at 48 to follow up the George Pickens pick. They're going to go in the secondary, and they're going to get high upside corner. They're going to get Zion McCollum, one of the freakiest athletes in the secondary. Chicago has never kind of strayed away from getting small school players. Zion McCollum, 6'2", 4'3" speed. Might be a slight learning curve there, but the ceiling is very high, and I could definitely see a situation maybe going into 2023 where the Bears have Zion McCollum on one side, Jalen Johnson on the other, and you got Tavon Young in the slot. 49, we have the New Orleans Saints, and we're going to have them grab a quarterback here. They didn't get one in the first round. So many people thought they would, so I'm going to have them pull the trigger at 49 on Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati. This is your last big opportunity. I mean, they're not going to be, with Jameis Winston, how they're setting up, in a prime position, especially giving Philly that pick to get a quarterback next year. If things don't work out with Jameis Winston. So here is your insurance policy, and you grab Desmond Ridder. Pick 50, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, and here I'm going to have them grab Alec Pierce, the wide receiver from Cincinnati. I do have John Mechie ahead of them, but John Mechie is going to overlap with the skill set that they have with Juju Smith-Schuster. Mechie's most likely going to be a slot. You might be able to get away putting him on the outside, but I think you need an outside, and Alec Pierce, height, weight, speed, 6'2", low 4.4 speed, jumped out the gym in pretty much every athletic testing. Maybe left a little meat on the bone at Cincinnati, but back-to-back Bearcats go here as the Kansas City Chiefs get another guy that can play on the outside, along with Mecole Hardman. Philadelphia up at 51. Honestly, I would be screaming right now if we could make this, if we could find a way to get this to happen. Will it happen? I don't know. It's honestly one of my dream picks here. I'm going to have them get Jalen Petrie. She really has shown a lot of interest in Jalen Petrie. And I made a tweet today. Like, if you liked what Malcolm Jenkins brought to the Eagles, obviously this was older Malcolm Jenkins. He started as a corner. Once he started to slow down just a tad, moved him to safety. But Malcolm Jenkins, for the Eagles at safety, was cover safety. He was our best cover safety. He lined up at linebacker occasionally, even though he's completely undersized. That is exactly what Jalen Petrie did to the defense. Now, this is still tough for Philadelphia. I think with the A.J. Brown trade, a lot of us, myself included, is like wondering if that makes maybe Philly a little bit more appealing to the Honey Badger. And it would be ideal if we know, like, if Tyrann Mathieu coming here, that means Philly could go corner. Philly desperately needs to grab a corner here. The board's not great. McCreary's more of a slot. I feel like at this point, you'd be looking at Taylor Britt, Kobe Bryant, Martin Emerson, Armour David. But even those are a little bit reaches. The corner board is not particularly good there at 51. The safety is between Jaquan Brisker or Jalen Petrie. You got to feel pretty good about either one of those selections. And if this happens on the stream, I'm actually going to lose my mind because Jalen Petrie, I think I had him as my 18th overall player on the big board. That would be a dream there for Philly at 51. 52, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock, and here is where they're going to make the Canadian connection, a pair with Chase Claypool. They're going to get John Mechie able to operate right away on the slot. You got to remember, John Mechie, before the injury, was considered a first-round caliber wide receiver, and that is a good weapon to start to build this wide receiver around room. The man that they have gave them keys to the franchise to. Kenny Two Gloves, Kenny Pickett. 53, we have the Green Bay Packers up here. This might be a little bit sad because Mechie, they'd probably be hoping for Mechie, but they got to go outside wide receiver. You're starting to get to like slot. So the last real outside wide receiver right here for maybe a reach, but if they don't get him here, then you're going to be starting to pick for like Justin Ross. You might go Tyquan Thornton for the speed. We're going to have them go Jalen Tolbert, the wide receiver out of South Alabama. Again, absolute not, I don't want to say consolation prize at this point. I know a lot of Packer fans are disappointed with how their first round went. And knowing that you end up with Jalen Tolbert, I mean, hey, he's a solid player. And again, has the upside as an outside wide receiver is what they need. Best of luck to you, I guess, is all I could say at this point. The New England Patriots are up at 54. And I have them going Leo Chenal, the linebacker from Wisconsin. Very, very athletic linebacker. I feel like he's the kind of guy that Bill Belichick's absolutely going to love his versatility. You look at Leo Chenal, you assume he's going to be like a stout run defender. Coverage is still a question mark. I think Bill Belichick's going to rush him a lot. I think he's going to truly view him as a utility piece and maybe a successor to Dante Hightower. 55. We have the Arizona Cardinals on the clock. And here's we're going to go have them get DeMarvin Leal, defensive end from Texas A&M. He'd be a D end on that front three that they're running there. And just another healthy part of that rotation. You're going to get a guy that can bring some juice outside of Zach Allen and give you a little bit more upside, some youth, a little bit more of a rotation there as the Cardinals try and figure out how they're going to be able to rush the passer with no more Chandler Jones. 56, we have the Dallas Cowboys on the clock, and we're going to have them grab Nick Bonito, edge rusher from Oklahoma. I thought in the first round the Dallas Cowboys were going to go hard after Jermaine Johnson. They ended up going Tyler Smith on the offensive line. But given the guys that are still here, the edge rushers that are still here in the second and third rounds, obviously Ajabo needs to get redshirted, but Bonito, Ebiketie, Thomas, Drake Jackson, Josh Paschal, there's some guys. There's still some value at edge, so maybe they made the right call there. And Bonito, plenty of bend, a very bendy edge rusher and productive edge rusher and good athlete out of Oklahoma. 57, we have the Buffalo Bills, and this was a pick I thought they could have made in the first round, but they're going to grab Breece Hall, the running back out of Iowa State. Does, to a certain degree, kind of remind me of the Kansas City Chiefs when they grabbed Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's like, of course, the overpowered offense, and then they go out and get, a guy that many people think could be the top running back in the class. And that is what they get in Breece Hall. Dynamic playmaker, still going to be able to use Devin Singletary as part of a rotation, but Breece Hall has a much higher ceiling. 58, the Atlanta Falcons. Might not like this pick. Falcon fans might not like. Again, it's kind of like the Falcons have a lot of picks, day 2, day 3. So I figure at this point, you're going to be able to fill your other holes. Phrasing, I'm going to have them get their quarterback here in Matt Corral. I think the Falcons are going to be considering and maybe looking forward towards 2023's quarterback class, which is fine. But with the amount of picks they have, I think they have 2 picks in the third round. They have pick 74. They have pick 82. And that's it. So they have 2 more picks coming up. You can do your damage there. You can grab your running back, your linebacker, an offensive lineman at those next picks. Here, get the last kind of guy that a lot of people thinking could have been a first-round quarterback, one of the best releases in this year's draft class, and Matt Corral. And just gives, a guy that's supposedly like a quarterback developer, Arthur Jones. Is it Arthur Jones or Arthur Smith? Arthur Smith. Obviously coming from Tennessee, that's why he got the job. It's the work he did with Ryan Tannehill. So give him another quarterback that he can see if he can develop a little bit. And then worst case scenario, you have a Jalen Hurts situation where, like, all right, you still have Matt Corral. He becomes maybe a trade asset, and then you go quarterback if things don't work out in 2023. I know Falcons might hate that, but I think the value is there for a team that has big question marks at quarterback, and there's not a for sure thing. They're going to be picking in a great spot to get that QB in 2023. Green Bay back on the clock here at 59. And I am going to have them grab Jaquan Brisker, the safety out of Penn State. Versatile, I think you're looking for. I mean, he could be the cheaper successor to Adrian Amos. I think he does. He's very well rounded, does a little bit of everything. He can cover well. He's a good athlete. He can run defense. And it's just, again, kind of cover on that back end for the Green Bay Packers. Safety was in play in the first round. They get a value safety at 59. Pick 60, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And here is where we go with the red shirt. Bucs have so much talent, they don't have to worry about it. They're going to grab David Ojabo and redshirt him. He is going to be the successor probably to Shaq Barrett in 2-3 years' time. And long term, your future is of the pass rush there for the Bucs is going to be Ojabo and Joe Tryon. Absolutely, just that's a Bucs. That's a luxury pick that the Bucs can make because their roster is so stacked still. 61, we have the San Francisco 49ers here, and this is a little bit thinking outside the box, but it does seem like the Deebo Samuel saga is not going to end particularly well. So I'm going to have them grab Wandel Robertson, the wide receiver of Kentucky, who absolutely could run and operate that role. He's literally the perfect wide receiver if you had that role in your offense to come in and take over that role. You have Calvin Austin, maybe a little bit more juice than Wandel Robinson, but Wandel Robinson had an elite production at Kentucky out of the slot. But he also is like, going to think back to Nebraska, was used like Deebo Samuel, running back, just jack of all trades, gadget player on offense. So I feel like it's much like when you had the Jets way up here take a tackle. We're just kind of believing that maybe there's something going on with Becton. That's why we look at the 49ers here and they get a guy that could stop. You have to get somebody that can operate in that Deebo role. That is what made that offense so difficult to stop. And Wandel Robinson, while not a Deebo, he could take that role and he could still operate at a decently high level. 62, we have the Kansas City Chiefs on the clock, and I'm going to have them here grab Fedarian Mathis, defensive tackle out of Alabama, just getting a little bit more of a rotation there, building up the depth on the defensive line behind Chris Jones. 63, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm going to have them select here on the interior line Cam Jurgens, the center out of Nebraska. I think with this move, you could put Ted Karras to left guard. You could have Jackson Carman kind of be like a swing tackle, and Cam Jurgens is poor man's Tyler Linderbaum. I had Lim going Linderbaum in the first round of my last mock draft. They missed out on him, so the next level of Linderbaum is Cam Jurgens, elite S-tier type center, and I think you got to continue. You got to at least get someone of value here to protect Joe Burrow. 64, we have the Denver Broncos, and I'm going to have the Denver Broncos here go to the linebacker spot. They're going to get Troy Anderson, the linebacker out of Montana State, S-tier athlete, like one of the highest RAS for this year's draft class, and I think, building towards the future. I think Johnson is gone there, the linebacker. So you have Baron Browning and Troy Anderson, two freaky-ass athletes that you can kind of build around for your linebacking core. I don't think there's a lot other value. They could have gone Ebiketie, who's fallen here a little bit. But, I think, they're also good. This is not a bad pick because you're gambling on the freak athleticism. 65, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm going to have them grab the first, apparently the top tight end here, which is Trey McBride out of Colorado State. Doug Peterson's offense has always had a reliable tight end. Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. Right now, the Jags just don't have that option, so they're going to get the surest thing, I think, the safest pick at tight end in this year's draft class, and that is going to be Trey McBride. And then we have 66 for the Minnesota Vikings, and they're going to get one of my favorite players, absolute free fall. No disrespect to him, but they're going to get Arnold Ebiketie, the edge rusher from Penn State, come in there with Daniil Hunter, DJ Wanham. You throw in Ebiketie, a little bit more finesse than DJ Wanham. Probably would be a guy that rotates in it. But then you could also have him as like a pass rush Sam, so he has that Anthony Barr to him a little bit. I think it actually is a perfect landing spot for him going to Minnesota, even though I do think outright Ebiketie falling to 66 is pretty goddamn disrespectful. Continuing on at 67, the Giants are on the clock, and I'm going to have them grab Nick Cross, the versatile, super athletic safety out of Maryland. He's still only 20 years old, so a lot of upside. Still a young player, great athlete, 4.3 speed, and gives a little versatility back there in that secondary to kind of replace Logan Ryan and to pair with McKinney. 68, the Houston Texans. We're going to get them a pass rusher here, and they're going to get Drake Jackson out of USC. I think he's the best fit for their defensive front. Some people thought he might go in the first round. Still here in the third round. Is great value for a high upside edge rusher. Just got to kind of get his weight concerns because he was he fluctuated like 30 pounds in college. It was kind of ridiculous. 69, we have the Tennessee Titans. We're going to have them affect the offensive line here and get Darian Kennard. I think it's a perfect fit. He could be plug and play at tackle, could kick into guard, but he's a tremendous run blocker, and that's what the Titans are all about. 70, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to have them go on the interior offensive line and get a center, and that is Dylan Parham out of Memphis. Tackle, but he worked out center, it feels like, pretty much exclusively all throughout the scouting process. And I think that with the retirement of Brandon Linner, center is a big need there for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Could also potentially look at Luke Fortner. 71, the Chicago Bears, we're going to have them go on the offensive line and get Nicholas Petit-Frere at tackle. Hopefully high upside, might not be ready to get thrown to the Wolves right away, but long-term, him and Tevin Jenkins could be the solution at the tackle spots for the Bears. 72, we have the Seattle Seahawks, rather than grabbing edge rusher Josh Paschal from Kentucky. A guy that, has a very solid foundation, very good base, might not be the freaky athlete that some of the players in this year's draft class are, but he's fairly safe player and should be immediately a contributor to the defensive end rotation there for the Seattle Seahawks. 73, we have the Indianapolis Colts, and I'm going to have them go Daniel Falele on the offensive line. Incredibly high ceiling, gigantic human being. I mean, they showed the fact, but they made that trade for the tackle from the Eagles. I don't know why I'm brain farting his name right now, but he's actually kind of serviceable. I just think they want gigantic human guys on their offensive line, and that is what you get in Falele at a position of need. 74, the Atlanta Falcons are on the clock. They are going to grab Kenneth Walker III, running back out of Michigan State. Let's get some stability there. Yeah, you can kind of get away with the, Cordero Patterson stuff, and you can still have that. But Kenneth Walker, 4.3 speed, home run ability, could be, the best running back the Falcons have had since Devontae Freeman. 75, we have the Denver Broncos. I'm going to have them get an edge rusher there. That is Myjai Sanders out of Cincinnati. Should be able to slide in there as a 3-4 pass rusher. Kind of like Drake Jackson here. A little bit of weight concern. Supposedly he was sick. He was like 220 or something crazy like that at the combine. But I think he has a very high ceiling, even if the production wasn't there this year for the Bearcats. 76, we have the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to have them get some speed, and they're going to grab Tyquan Thornton out of Baylor. Legit 4.2 speed, looking to replace what they lost in Hollywood Brown. I think Tyquan Thornton's getting a little bit slept on. He's not just a pure speed threat. I think you have a guy that was actually a dynamic playmaker, good legit receiver for Baylor last couple seasons, and kind of surprised people with his speed. His speed was like an additional bonus, which will push him out draft boards, I think, into the third round. 77, we have the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to have them go on the interior offensive line here and get Sean Ryan out of UCLA. You get a little tackle versatility there, but ideally he's going to be plug and play on the interior of that offensive line, and they're like kind of low-key, trying to, you want to be able to take a little bit of pressure off Kirk Cousins and run the ball with a healthy Dalvin Cook, and Ryan helps out that O-line. 78, we have the Cleveland Browns, and I'm going to have them select Calvin Austin III, the speedster out of Memphis, dynamic playmaker for this wide receiver core that just needs another dynamic playmaker for sure. You got Amari Cooper, DPJ, and then you go with Calvin Austin, who out of all like the kind of day two wide receivers might have improved his draft stock the most throughout the the combine and pro days and all that stuff. 79, we have the Chargers. I'm going to have them grab a tackle. Abe Lucas should probably be plug and play at right tackle. Terrific pass pro. Run reps, work in progress coming from the air raid there in Washington State, but I do think he is kind of an underrated offensive tackle player right now. 80, we have the Houston Texans. I'm going to have them grab Brian Cook, the safety from Cincinnati. Didn't get the workout this offseason, but was very good. I think a guy that has legit cover ability. Started his career out as a corner, then converted to safety. And I think underrated, big-time hitter. This guy can set the tone on the back end of a defense, and they need to find somebody that can, fill up some bodies there. Justin Reed's gone. That spot has kind of opened up. 81, we have the Giants. I'm going to have them go Kobe Bryant, the corner out of Cincinnati. Kind of feel like out of all these guys, might be the better scheme fit. Not the greatest athlete, but not a bad athlete. My name, 4.5's 40. Kind of got picked on the other side playing across from Sauce Gardner, but he held up fairly well, was very productive, and I think he gives them a good shot there, especially if the Giants intend to move on from James Bradbury. 82, we have the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to have them grab Brian Asamoah, the second linebacker from Oklahoma. You got to get your Olakun replacement to play in there with Deion Jones. I think Asamoah, with his coverage ability, his range, kind of is the fit there. 83 for Philadelphia. I'm going to have them grab Roger McCreary, the corner from Auburn. Corner still is a big need for Philly. And, you've kind of seen by them throwing Zach McPherson on the outside that you don't have to be 6 feet tall to be a starting corner in Jonathan Gannon's scheme. That's really the knock, the lack of length. If you throw the length out the window, McCreary is a uber productive SEC corner. I think this is kind of like maybe not the highest ceiling, but a high floor pick here for Philadelphia. And if they made this selection, I wouldn't be surprised if McCreary starts sooner than later for the Eagles in that secondary. 84, the Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock, and we're going to have them go on the offensive line here, and they're going to grab Luke Gadecki from Central Michigan. Can play tackle, can play guard. Just really the best versatile lineman available for an offensive line that still needs to find their identity, still needs to replenish after losing the Pounceys and the David DeCastros and stuff like that. They're still a work in progress. I think Gadecki gives you some versatility there. 85, we have the New England Patriots, and we're going to have them grab Cam Taylor-Britt, corner from Nebraska. Kind of surprised the Cole Strange selection was just really, really weird. But the Patriots need to retool and get a little bit younger in that secondary. And Cam Taylor-Britt, very, very well-rounded, kind of a safe pick there at the corner spot. I think he can contribute sooner than later. 86, the Raiders finally have a selection. And I'm going to have them grab linebacker Channing Dindall from Georgia. I think you have sideline-to-sideline ability, very good athlete. Also pretty underrated as a pass rusher for a team in the Raiders that has been trying over the last couple years to get the linebacking core right. I think him, maybe Devon Diablo paired long-term could be nice for the Raiders. 87, we have the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to have them get D'Angelo Malone, pass rusher from Western Kentucky. I think with his athleticism, you're going to ideally prioritize him, maybe more so some of these guys that are going to be more, 4-3 guys. Could go Sam Williams here if they want the athleticism, or maybe Barno if you want that freak. But I think Malone has the athleticism that some of these guys have, as well as the production at Western Kentucky. 88, the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock, and we're going to have them grab David Bell, wide receiver out of Purdue. Kind of tanked his stock a little bit because he wasn't quite the athlete a lot of people were expecting. But as far as technical ability, as far as route running, as well as hands, he's as good as it gets. A lot of people have been graded as a top 10 wide receiver, so there's some help there for the Cowboys, who obviously lost Amari Cooper. We don't know the availability and when. There's just so many players. The dude that hurt himself, they just resigned out of Colorado State, and then you obviously Cedric Wilson's gone, so you need David Bell there to come in with CeeDee Lamb, and why can't I remember his name? I don't know why, but you know who I'm talking about. 89, we have the Buffalo Bills. And we are going to have them select Kirby Joseph, the safety from Illinois. This is kind of a little bit of a luxury pick here. Obviously, with Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, their safeties are there. But now you get your third safety. You get the guy that can be groomed to be the successor. Those guys are not spring chickens anymore. They're their age a little bit. So there's just some good, solid depth there with upside for the Buffalo Bills. Pick 90, we have the Tennessee Titans. And I'm going to have the Titans select Greg Dulcich, tight end out of UCLA. I think with the loss of A.J. Brown, you're not going to replace him just with Treylon Burks right away. Get another receiving threat to offer another element to that passing game, and Dulcich is their best opportunity at 90. 91, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and much like the last pick with the Bucs, where we had them going with a project player, which was David Ojabo, kind of red shirt, don't need him to contribute right away. Kind of staying along that lines, I'm going to have them get Tariq Woolen, the S-tier athlete at a UTSA, still kind of learning the cornerback spot, but we have not really seen an athlete of his caliber ever. 6'4", almost 4.2 speed, jumped out the park, but he's still learning progress. So I feel like that's perfect for Todd Bowles, like a project for him to be like, I'm going to make this guy freak of nature. They don't have to throw him to the Wolves. Their secondary is kind of in place, so it'd be nice depth for the time being and could eventually be a big-time playmaker for them on the outside. 92, we have the Green Bay Packers, and I'm going to have the Packers select wide receiver Bo Melton out of Rutgers. I think he's getting slept on a little bit. I think he's a great playmaker, and this is the much-needed resources that Aaron Rodgers pretty much should be demanding at this point at the wide receiver position. 93, we have the San Francisco 49ers, and I'm going to have them kind of go a little off the border slightly and draft Josh Williams out of Fayetteville State. I think they need an outside corner pretty bad at this point. Height, weight, speed, a lot of the scouts love this guy. Obviously, small school level of competition has to come, but 6'2" and 4'5", low 4'5s. Very good athlete, a lot of production there. And I think if you're the Niners, you need to get a guy that can contribute sooner than later on the outside in that secondary. Going to the Patriots at 94, we're going to select JT Woods, the safety out of Baylor. You have Kyle Duggar. JT Woods gives you the athlete back there. 6'2", has good length, but ran the 4.3s, had 6 interceptions last year for Baylor. I think he's just a nice, versatile player, again, for the Patriots secondary, which needs to get just a little bit younger. 95, we have the Cincinnati Bengals on the clock, and we're going to have them select Martin Emerson, the corner out of Mississippi State. Good athlete, good length, is going to be an outside corner. And it's just, let's just limit the amount of times Eli Apple is on the field here sooner than later. 96, we have the Denver Broncos. I'm going to have them select Rasheed Walker, the tackle from Penn State. Could come in and be a swing tackle for them as a rookie. High upside, eventual starter, maybe the eventual successor at left tackle. Because, how old's... He was an old rookie, I remember, when he was coming out, Garrett Bowles. So either way, good swing tackle there and depth for the Denver Broncos. 97, the Detroit Lions, why not at this point? I'm having them grabbing Sam Howell, the quarterback out of North Carolina. Looking at the board, they could go Cam Thomas at this point. They could go Egbenari there. They could go Marcus Jones. I just think, why not? The value's there. Take a swing. It's not that big of a deal if you want to move on and go quarterback 2023. It at least gives you a chance to evaluate a guy that could and has potential to maybe be something in the NFL. Probably I think at least any quarterback that I pick in this mock draft, the teams are going to hate it. But I would totally take that risk. At 98, we have the Commanders up here, and I'm going to have them draft Jeremy Rucker, the tight end out of Ohio State. I think the Commanders need a little bit more stability at that tight end spot. Logan Thomas coming off the injury. I think Rucker gives a little bit more upside than, say, the John Bates out of Boise State that they got last season. 99, we have the Cleveland Browns, and I'm going to have them get value pick here, Cameron Thomas, the edge rusher out of San Diego State. Most people do have him as like a second rounder, early third rounder. He's still here, late third. You get some value there for a very productive pass rusher in college. Pick 100, we have the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm going to have them go in the secondary, get an outside corner. I think, I'm going to go Jalen Armour-Davis. I think didn't play a lot at Alabama, but when he did play, looked pretty good. Availability has been a concern, but he does have upside to be a starting outside corner in the NFL. And at this point, those are the kind of guys you're taking a swing at. Like Jones slot, Taylor might be a safety, lack of speed here. I think Davis, a little bit of a gamble, but it could work out for the Arizona Cardinals. 101, we have the Jets, and I'm going to have them select Charlie Kolar, the tight end out of Iowa State. Maybe a little bit of reach, but tight end I think is a big need for the Jets to continue to evolve and build that offense for Zach Wilson. Kolar very well rounded. He can block, serviceable, but a very good safety net, reliable, always finds a way to get open type tight end with I think a decent bit of upside there. At 102, we have the Dolphins, and I'm going to have the Dolphins here. Select Luke Fortner, the center out of Kentucky. A lot of scouts just kind of rave. Center's not that valuable of a position, but he's a guy that can be plug and play, most likely contribute sooner than later. Wouldn't be shocked if he's the starter day one, earns that gig in training camp for the Dolphins. At 103, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, and here's where I'm going to have them go at the running back spot. Get a versatile player, get James Cook. I feel like that's just another weapon. They have to find a way to replace the dynamic ability that Tyreek Hill brought to their offense. And I feel like having someone like James Cook, which is like a hybrid running back wide receiver coming to the backfield, Andy Reid's going to be able to craft up some ridiculous schemes to get James Cook the ball and give opposing defenses something else to worry about. 104, we have the Rams. And honestly, for the Rams, I think they could go... he is slipping. He should probably be gone by now. But I think if you're the Rams... they need interior offensive lineouts. I would go Zach Tom. It sounded like they wanted Cole Strange. They kind of made a meme about it. If that's the style of player that they were looking for, Zach Tom is your next best bet. Very good athlete. Brings a lot of versatility. Can probably pretty much play every spot on the offensive line. And he has very, very good athleticism. And then we finish up this draft at 105 with the 49ers. They could go BPA. I have them, however, going a little, not really off board, not too crazy off the board, but I do have them going into the secondary, and we're going to have them select Verone McKinley III, the safety out of Oregon. I think with him, you get very, very, very legitimate production, a lot of interceptions, and that just adds a little bit more stability to a secondary that is probably one of the spottier secondaries, given the talent, given the fact that the Niners were like a legitimate playoff team last year. Their secondary on paper was... okay, it was fine. I think they should try to address it, and someone like McKinley, who's an absolute ball hawk, could provide a lot of value there at 105, and he won't drop the picks like Jaquiski Tartt. Is that too soon? I don't know. But there you go, guys. That is my Day 2 mock draft. We'll see how it all plays out tonight. I will be live streaming yet again here on the YouTube channel, probably going live about half hour before the second round starts, but second and third rounds, we'll have some fun with that. Let me know what you guys think about your team's picks. Do you think if they follow this, you're going to be happy, they're going to be a lot better, or do you think I absolutely botched your picks and you're disgusted with them? Feel free to let everything, good and or bad, known in the comment section below. But thank you guys very much for watching. If it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace